When Atelier Ryza 2 was announced recently, I was not prepared. There had been rumors of it since it was rated by the Australian Classification Board, but I wasn't expecting an official announcement for this new Atelier so soon, considering the bizarre year we've been living through. So when I saw on Twitter that Ryza 2 had been announced in Japan's mini direct, I was pleasantly surprised but naturally had some thoughts, considering that the upcoming game is Ryza 2 and not a new Atelier protagonist. That's something a little unusual considering the nature of the series over the past few years. In this video, I want to talk about my thoughts leading up to the trailer after the title was leaked, how this new entry breaks the mold from what we've seen from Atelier so far, how it makes sense in other ways, and why I'm of course excited for this new Atelier. When Atelier Ryza 2 was first leaked via my home country's classification board website, this game is a surprise to many, considering Gust really haven't talked much about Atelier this year, aside from maybe when they said they had some unannounced titles in the works. There was no announcement in Japan, no images, no nothing, and this leak was such a surprise that despite the classification board having a pretty good track record for these announcements coming to fruition, I didn't take it in nearly as hard as I did once the trailer was actually shown in Japan's mini direct. The leak did get some gears turning in my head though. As I saw a bunch of people on social media saying they knew this was gonna happen, I quickly realized that Ryza 2 wasn't something I'd been expecting. And while I had discussed it with my boyfriend before, since he's one of the people who did think it would happen, I'd always assumed that we'd see another new protagonist, as that's what the series has led us to expect. Atelier fans know that the series for the last 10+ years has always featured a new protagonist, and while historically games like Atelier Eris 1, 2, and 3 exist, it's just not something we've seen in more recent entries, even with some Ateliers featuring 2 new protagonists in an entry. My Atelier love has come in the past few years, so after binging 2 whole trilogies, a surprise 4th entry, a spin-off, Lydian Soul, and more recently Ryza, I've been fully used to the pattern of new game, new protagonist, so in my head, it was always a no-brainer that we'd see the same pattern continued here. We did see Gust try a lot of new things last year though. The Atelier series had 3 new releases last year, including a simulation spin-off game in the form of Nelke and the Legendary Alchemist to celebrate 20 years of the Atelier series, a brand new 4th entry into the Atelier Arlen series called Atelier Lulua that came out 10 years after the first Arlen game Atelier Rorona about Rorona's daughter, and Atelier Ryza ended the year with a bang, with each of those Atelier games bringing something new to the series, with Ryza being the biggest of the 3, both in terms of success and change for the series. Ryza is still very much an Atelier game at its core, with the loop of synthesizing, gathering, battling, and exploring with charming characters, but I'm sure many would agree that Ryza stands out when you think of Atelier last year. This game took a whole new audience by storm for many reasons, and yes, of course thighs and general thickness are some of them, but there are plenty of other reasons too. Visually, it was the most ambitious Atelier we've seen, with clear thought put into some of the finer details that make the world feel much more stunning than other Atelier games, like its intentional use of light and shade. Alchemy-wise, it was made much more visually interesting than previous entries, with its skill tree-like look that was very intuitive to use. In terms of combat, it took a step away from traditional turn-based battles to make something more active. Gathering was given more tools to make it feel active too. Ryza's lovable personality and adventurous spirit makes her a great Atelier protagonist, and music that sounds wondrous all the time, and everything together helps Ryza feel a cut above the rest in terms of quality and innovation in the series. In response to these upgrades and features, Atelier Ryza was a great success. It was the highest selling Atelier to date, selling over 420,000 units, beating 2015's Atelier Sophie that sold 320,000. This makes Atelier Ryza the highest selling Atelier game in the last 5 years, and considering that, Koei Tecmo and Gust probably would like to continue that success as long as possible. With Ryza being such a popular character, it can definitely be argued that it only makes sense for them to ride that wave as long as possible, and Ryza being at the front of this next Atelier will certainly bring in a lot of people who bought units back for more in number 2. In saying that, I like to think that there's more than just thighs and sales to Ryza being the protagonist again, and I'm sure we'll find out exactly what those reasons are in the coming months as Gust does press for the upcoming release. To speculate though, Atelier has always looked back on its protagonists as they grow up in some way, usually in the background of a new protagonist story, and there's always been room for a repeated protagonist in Atelier games since they always write interesting and kind of quirky characters. Ryza's adventurous spirit makes her one that's easy to slot into this role though. Since this will likely be the Secret Trilogy or set of games, considering the Lost Games tag was Everdarkness and the Secret Hideout, and 2s will be Lost Legends and the Secret Fairy. Having a protagonist interested in uncovering those secrets is important, and Ryza fits the bill in being the type of character who would do that and continue her adventures well beyond the first one, that it does make sense that we get to follow along with her. And since the series took a lot of risks last year, this is just another surprise move that I guess we can add to the pile. That's just my idea, but in upcoming press releases and interviews though, I do hope in any case we find out if Ryza 2 was a plan from the start, or if this part of the Atelier series changed as Ryza became more popular, and I wouldn't be surprised to find out if it was a combination of both. Personally, I'd happily get to know any of the Atelier protagonists I've played as if they were given their own second game, so I'm more than happy to spend more time with Ryza and see where her next adventure takes her in this expanded version of the world that seems like it has many more secrets to be uncovered. So if it wasn't obvious from what I've said in this video and the title, I can't help but be excited for Ryza 2 and see where it goes. The trailer showed off things I loved from the first one, like the magical feeling world, the combat, and alchemy systems I loved using, along with some interesting new ways to explore that if Gus nailed that as much as they did in the last one, this could be a really great game that I think could keep bringing the series to further heights. So until we hear more on the 30th, I'll be working on another Ryza related video, as I bought the Claudia DLC after the announcement to help tide me over, and I can't wait to talk about the special movie when it's out, and of course to see more of the magical world of Ryza soon. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Atelier Ryza 2, if you plan to play it, and if you played the first one. You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below, and until next time, thank you, bye!